The chair scraped loudly against the cafe floor. A few heads turned. He froze halfway down, then slowly sat back up. His hands rested on his knees, rough, calloused. They did not know what to do with themselves. The cafe was warm, too warm. Glass windows, soft music, laughter everywhere, low and careless. If you believe real kindness still exists in unexpected people, stay with this story. Subscribe and don't miss what comes next. Across from him, three people sat close together. A woman with perfect hair, a man checking his phone, another woman whispering something, then smiling. They did not look at him directly. Not yet. A server came by. "Coffee?" she asked. He nodded. "Once, yes, please." His voice was low, careful, like it had learned not to take space. The server paused for half a second. Her eyes moved to his worn jacket, then to his shoes, then back to her pad. "Black." "Yes." She walked away. The woman across from him finally looked up. She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "So," she said. "You're Daniel, right?" He nodded again. "Yes." Another pause. The man beside her leaned back, crossed his arms, smirked. "You look older in person." Daniel smiled politely. It was a reflex. "Long days," he said. They laughed, softly, like it was harmless. At the table next to them, a young woman sat alone. She stared at her phone, then at the window, then at nothing at all. Her hands rested around a mug she never lifted. She did not hear the laughter. Daniel noticed her before he noticed anything else. She looked up when the laughter grew louder, confused. Her eyebrows pulled together slightly. She watched faces, not sounds. Daniel looked away quickly. The woman across from him leaned forward. "So," she said, "you said you're a delivery driver?" "Yes." "And a single dad?" "Yes." "How old is your kid?" "6." "Oh," she blinked. "That's young." He nodded. "It is." The man laughed again, louder this time. "And you still thought a blind date was a good idea?" Daniel did not answer right away. He looked at the table. There was a small chip in the wood. He traced it with his thumb. "I thought," he said slowly, "it was worth trying." Silence. Then another laugh, this one sharper. The woman whispered something to her friend. They both looked at him, then at each other. At the next table, the young woman with the mug watched Daniel. She tilted her head slightly, studied his face, his posture, the way he held his shoulders like he was bracing for something. Daniel felt it, someone watching. He glanced over. Their eyes met. She smiled, small, gentle. He looked away immediately. His ears burned. The server returned with his coffee. "Here you go." "Thank you," he said, too quickly. The woman across from him picked up her phone. "This is interesting," she said. "You know, we kind of expected someone more established." Daniel nodded. "I understand." The man leaned in. "So why are you really here, Daniel?" Daniel opened his mouth, then stopped. From the corner of his eye, he saw the young woman lift her mug, take a careful sip, watching lips, watching movement, waiting. Daniel closed his mouth again. Outside, a bus passed. The light shifted. Something was about to happen. And no one at the table knew it yet. Because this blind date was never meant to be fair. And Daniel had not come alone in the ways that mattered. Daniel stirred his coffee even though he did not plan to drink it. The spoon clinked softly against the cup, once, twice. He stopped when the sound felt too loud. "So?" the woman asked again. "Why are you really here?" Her voice was sweet, too sweet. Daniel took a breath. He looked up, not at her, at the space between them. "I was told," he said, "that someone wanted to meet me." The man snorted. "Wow." The other woman leaned back. She crossed her legs slowly. "You don't usually do this kind of thing, do you?" Daniel shook his head. "No, figures," she said. At the next table, the young woman placed her mug down carefully. She wiped a small drop from the rim with her sleeve. She watched the mouths move, watched expressions change. She did not need sound to understand discomfort. Daniel's shoulders were tight now. His hands folded together, unfolded, folded again. "My daughter," he said quietly, "wanted me to come." That caught their attention. The woman blinked. "Your daughter?" "Yes." The man leaned forward. "She set you up on a blind date," Daniel nodded. "She said I don't smile anymore." Silence. Not the uncomfortable kind, the surprised kind. The woman laughed first. That's sad. Daniel smiled again, the reflex. She worries. The server passed by again. She slowed, looked at the table, sensed something. She did not stop. At the next table, the young woman's eyes softened. She leaned her chin into her hand, listening with her eyes. "So let me get this straight," the man said. "You're broke, you have a kid, you work all the time, and you still thought this was a good idea." Daniel did not answer right away. He took a sip of coffee, grimaced slightly. "Too hot." "I thought," he said, "it might remind me how to talk to people." They laughed again, louder this time. Daniel nodded along with it, like he agreed. The woman across from him checked her phone. "This is kind of a joke," she muttered. Not quietly enough. Daniel heard it. He always heard things like that. He stood up slowly, pushed the chair back with care. "I'm sorry," he said. "I don't think I belong here." The man shrugged. "Probably not." Daniel reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out some folded bills, placed them on the table, more than enough. "For the coffee," he said. He turned to leave. That was when he noticed the young woman standing too. She held her phone in both hands. Her screen was bright. She tapped quickly, then stepped closer, just close enough to be seen. She lifted the phone. "Thank you for being kind to yourself." The words filled the screen. Daniel stared at it. He swallowed. "I'm sorry," he said automatically. "I didn't mean to." She shook her head gently, smiled. She pointed to her ear, then waved her hand softly. "Deaf." Daniel nodded, once, slowly, respectfully. She typed again. "You looked like you needed someone to see you." Daniel's eyes burned. Behind them the table had gone quiet. The woman scoffed. "Oh my God," the man laughed. "This keeps getting better." Daniel turned slightly. He hesitated, then looked back at the young woman. "Thank you," he said, clear, steady. She smiled wider this time. Daniel walked toward the door. The bell rang as he pushed it open. Outside, the air was cooler, quieter. He did not see the young woman follow him, but she did. And whatever was about to happen next was never part of their joke, because this was not the last time Daniel and the deaf girl would meet. And the reason they would meet again would change everything. The street outside the cafe was busy. Cars passed. People walked fast. No one noticed the man standing still near the door, holding it open longer than necessary. Daniel stepped aside. The young woman stopped a few feet away. She did not rush. She waited until he turned fully toward her. She lifted her phone again. "I didn't mean to embarrass you." Daniel shook his head quickly. "No, you didn't." He paused, looked at her hands, calm, steady. "I was already embarrassed," he added. "Long before today." She read his lips carefully. Her eyes stayed on his face. She smiled, but it faded at the edges. She typed again. "They were cruel." Daniel shrugged lightly. "They didn't know me." She tilted her head, a small frown. Then she typed. "That doesn't excuse it." Daniel let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. A bus stopped nearby. Doors hissed open. People climbed in. The noise washed over them. She didn't flinch. Daniel noticed. "I'm Daniel," he said. She pointed to herself. Then typed. "Lena." He nodded. "Nice to meet you, Lena." She smiled. Real this time. They stood there for a moment, just standing. The street moved around them. Daniel checked his watch. "I should go," he said. "I have to pick up my daughter." Lena's face changed slightly, curious. She typed. "How old?" "6," he said. Her smile returned. She held up 6 fingers, then lowered them slowly like she was counting something important. Daniel smiled back, for real this time. "I don't usually talk much," he said. "I'm not very good at it." Lena shook her head gently. She typed. "You speak clearly. You just don't rush." That surprised him. No one had ever said that. A silence settled between them, not heavy, not awkward, just there. Daniel gestured toward the cafe. "Were you waiting for someone?" Lena hesitated, then shook her head. She typed, "I like sitting near people, even if I'm alone." Daniel nodded. "I understand that." He took a step back, hesitated. "If it's okay," he said, "I'd like to say thank you again." She looked at him, waiting. "For noticing," he finished. Her eyes softened. She typed one last thing. "Sometimes noticing is enough." Daniel nodded slowly. He turned and walked toward the bus stop. Halfway there he stopped, looked back. Lena was still there. She lifted her hand, a small wave. He waved back. The bus arrived. Daniel stepped on, found a seat near the window. As the bus pulled away, he saw Lena grow smaller through the glass. He did not know why his chest felt tight. That evening, Daniel picked up his daughter from after-school care. She ran into his arms, wrapped her legs around his waist. "Did you go?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "Was she nice?" Daniel paused. "She was kind," he said. His daughter smiled. "That's better." Later that night, after she fell asleep, Daniel sat at the small kitchen table. He stared at his phone. Then he opened a message he had not deleted. A number Lena had typed into his phone before leaving. He stared at it for a long time. Then he typed, "Thank you for today." He waited. The phone buzzed. "You're welcome. I'm glad you stayed." Daniel leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes. Somewhere between pain and hope, something had shifted. And neither of them knew yet how deeply their lives were about to intertwine. Because Lena had her own reasons for being alone that day, and Daniel was about to learn that kindness often hides its own wounds. The next time Daniel saw Lena, it was raining. Not heavy rain, just enough to soak through jackets and make people walk faster than they wanted to. He spotted her near the bus stop. Same bench, same quiet stillness. She looked smaller somehow, shoulders tucked in, hair damp at the edges. Daniel hesitated. He was early to pick up his daughter, 5 minutes, maybe 10. That felt like a risk. He walked toward her. Lena noticed his shadow before his face. She looked up, her eyes widened slightly. Then she smiled. Daniel lifted his hand in a small wave. She shifted to make space on the bench. He sat, carefully, left space between them. Rain tapped against the shelter roof. Soft, repetitive. Lena pulled out her phone. "You came back." Daniel nodded. "I take this bus most days." She watched his lips. Her smile lingered. "Me too." They sat in silence for a moment. The rain filled the gaps. Daniel cleared his throat. "I wanted to ask," he said, "if it's okay." She tilted her head, waiting. "Do you read lips or—" She typed, "Both, but lips help, especially when people are honest." Daniel nodded slowly. "I'll remember that." She smiled at the word remember. A man nearby glanced at them, then looked away, then looked again, curious. Daniel noticed. His shoulders stiffened. Lena noticed that too. She typed, "You don't need to protect me." Daniel blinked. "I wasn't." She raised her hand gently. "Calm, I know, but I can see it." He relaxed a little, let his shoulders drop. "I do that," he admitted. "Even when I don't need to." Lena typed, "You've had to for a long time." That landed heavier than he expected. The bus arrived. Doors opened. People rushed in. Daniel stood. "I have to go." Lena stood too. He hesitated, then spoke. "Would you like to sit together again sometime? Maybe somewhere quieter?" She didn't answer right away. She looked at him, studied his face, his hands, the way he waited without pushing. Then she typed, "Yes, I would." Daniel smiled, wide, unguarded. "Coffee?" he asked. She nodded. The bus pulled away with Daniel on it. He arrived home late. His daughter was already asleep on the couch, her backpack on the floor, one shoe off. He carried her to bed, tucked her in. As he turned to leave, she opened her eyes. "Did you smile today?" she asked softly. Daniel paused. "Yes," he said. She smiled back, closed her eyes. Later, Daniel sat alone at the table again. Rain streaked the window. His phone buzzed. "I like how you wait. Most people rush." He typed back slowly. "I've learned that waiting can be kind." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. "I lost my hearing when I was 12. People stopped waiting." Daniel stared at the message, then typed, "I'm sorry." The reply came after a pause, "Don't be, just stay." Daniel set the phone down, rested his hands on the table. He didn't know what staying would cost him. He didn't know what it would give him. But he knew this. Something fragile was forming. And fragile things break easily. Because Lena had not told him why she was really alone. And Daniel had not told her what he was hiding either. They met on a Sunday, a small park near the river. Wooden benches, slow water, people passing without paying attention. Daniel arrived early. As usual, he bought 2 coffees from a small cart, one black, one with milk and sugar, just guessing. Lena came a few minutes later, a soft scarf around her neck, hair tied back loosely. She smiled when she saw the coffees. Daniel held them up. "I guessed." She laughed silently, her shoulders lifted. She took the one with milk. "Good guess." They sat on a bench facing the water. Ducks moved in small circles. A child laughed somewhere behind them. Daniel watched Lena more than the river. The way she noticed things. The way her eyes followed movement instead of sound. He spoke slowly, clearly. "My daughter's name is Emily." Lena read his lips carefully. "Pretty name." "She likes drawing," he said, "and asking questions I don't always know how to answer." Lena smiled. "That means you're doing it right." Daniel looked down at his coffee. "I don't feel like I am," she typed. "You don't have to feel right to be right." That stayed with him. They talked like that, slow, measured, small pieces at a time. Daniel told her about early mornings, about packed lunches, about pretending he wasn't tired. He did not talk about Emily's mother. Lena noticed. She did not ask. Lena told him about her job at a small library, about organizing shelves, about the quiet she loved. She did not talk about her family. Daniel noticed. He did not ask. At one point, an older woman walked by. She smiled at them, then she leaned closer to her friend, whispered, looked back. Daniel saw it. He stiffened. Lena followed his gaze. "Understood," she typed. "They think you're helping me." Daniel swallowed. "I am," he said quickly. "I mean," she smiled gently, shook her head, "they think I need help." Daniel exhaled slowly. "I'm sorry," he said. She typed. "I'm not. I know who I am." A man jogging past slowed down, looked at them, looked again. Daniel shifted slightly, closer to Lena, not touching, just there. Lena noticed. Her smile softened. They finished their coffee in silence. Daniel checked the time. "I should go. Emily's expecting me." Lena nodded. She typed, "I'd like to meet her someday." Daniel froze. He did not answer right away. "She's protective," he said finally. Lena nodded. "So am I." They stood. The moment lingered. Daniel spoke carefully. "People stare." Lena typed, "Let them, we're not hurting anyone." Daniel looked at her, really looked. "You're stronger than you think," he said. She typed, "So are you. You just forgot." That night Daniel lay awake in bed. He stared at the ceiling. Emily slept in the next room. Safe, warm. He thought of Lena, of her quiet strength, of how easy it was to breathe around her. He also thought of the cafe, the laughter, the way he had felt small. He wondered what would happen if those people saw him now. He wondered what would happen if they saw Lena. He did not know that they would. Soon. Because the people who laughed that day were not done watching. And kindness, once noticed, rarely stays private. It started with a message. Daniel was folding laundry when his phone buzzed. Emily's socks in one hand, a shirt in the other. He glanced at the screen. A name he did not expect. Unknown number. He opened it. "Saw you at the park today. Didn't know you were into charity cases now." His chest tightened. He did not reply. Another message came in. "Is that the same girl from the cafe, or do you collect them?" Daniel set the phone down slowly, finished folding the shirt, placed it neatly in the basket. Emily walked in. "Dad?" "Yes," he said, keeping his voice steady. "Why do people whisper?" He froze. "Sometimes," she continued, "kids at school whisper when I walk by." Daniel knelt in front of her. "Does it hurt?" She nodded. "Sometimes." He took her hands, small, warm. "What do you do?" She thought for a moment. "I hold my head up." Daniel smiled. "That's good," he said. Later that night, Daniel typed a message to Lena. "Something happened today." The reply came quickly. "Do you want to talk or just be quiet together?" Daniel stared at the words. "Quiet is okay." A few seconds passed. "I'm here." That helped more than anything else. The next week they met again. Same park, same bench. Daniel looked tired, dark circles under his eyes. Lena noticed immediately. She typed, "They found you." Daniel nodded. "From the cafe," he said. "They think this is funny." Lena's jaw tightened just slightly. She typed, "I'm sorry. It's not your fault." She looked at him, long, careful. "It never is, but it still hurts." Daniel swallowed. "I don't want Emily to see this," he said. "I don't want her to think this is normal." Lena typed slowly. "Then show her something else." Daniel looked at her. "Like what?" She did not type right away. She stood instead. walked a few steps toward the river. Daniel followed. She pointed to a man helping an older woman down the path, to a child tying his friend's shoe. Then she typed, "This." Daniel watched, really watched. "I forget to look for that," he said. Lena smiled faintly. "That's because you're busy surviving." A man walked by, slowed, looked at them, smirked. Daniel felt it immediately. His body remembered this feeling. Lena stepped closer, just enough. She reached out, touched his sleeve lightly. Grounding, the man walked away. Daniel let out a breath. "I don't want to be brave anymore," he said quietly. "I'm tired," Lena typed. "You don't have to be brave, just present." Daniel nodded. "I can do that." They sat again. A little while later, Lena typed something new. "Would you come with me next week?" "To where?" She hesitated. "A community event for the Deaf Center." Daniel nodded without thinking. "Yes." She looked surprised. "You don't even know what it is," he added. She typed, "I know, that's why I asked." Daniel smiled. He did not know it yet, but agreeing to that one thing was going to bring everything into the open, because the event would be public. And the people who once laughed would be there too. The community hall was brighter than Daniel expected. White walls, long tables, banners he could not read from far away. People moved with purpose, with familiarity. Lena stood beside him. Calm, grounded, Daniel adjusted his jacket. "I feel underdressed," he said. Lena smiled and typed, "You look like yourself, that's enough." Inside, hands waved instead of voices. Faces lit up when they saw Lena. People hugged her, tapped her shoulder, smiled wide. Daniel stepped back instinctively, unsure where to place himself. Lena noticed. She reached for his hand, not tightly, just enough. Daniel froze for half a second, then relaxed. A woman approached them. Older. Kind eyes, she signed quickly. Lena laughed silently, responded just as fast. The woman turned to Daniel, spoke gently. "She says thank you for coming." Daniel nodded. "I'm glad to be here." The woman smiled. "She says she is too." They walked through the hall together. Daniel noticed something. No one stared here. No one whispered. People looked at Lena the way they looked at everyone else. Normal, equal. His chest ached. At one table, children practiced signing with volunteers. At another, pamphlets were neatly stacked. A banner caught his eye. Annual hearing loss awareness gathering. Daniel swallowed. "So this is important," he said quietly. Lena nodded. She typed, "It saved me once." Daniel looked at her. "How?" She hesitated, then typed, "When I felt invisible." Before he could ask more, a familiar laugh cut through the room. Daniel stiffened. Across the hall stood the woman from the cafe. Perfect hair, same smile. Beside her the man, phone in hand, smirking. Their eyes met. Recognition flashed. The woman leaned toward the man, whispered. They both laughed. Daniel's hand tightened slightly around Lena's. She followed his gaze. Understood instantly. Her face changed, just a little. She typed, "They know you." "Yes," Daniel said. She looked at him carefully. "Do you want to leave?" Daniel thought of Emily, of whispers, of hiding. He shook his head. "No." Lena studied him, then nodded. They moved deeper into the hall. Moments later, a man stepped onto a small stage, tapped a microphone. The sound echoed. Lena did not react. Daniel leaned in slightly. "What's happening?" She typed. "They're asking for speakers." Volunteers, stories. Daniel's stomach dropped. On stage, the man gestured to the crowd. Invited participation. Hands rose. Lena did not move. Daniel glanced at her. "You don't have to," he said softly. She met his eyes. She typed slowly. "I wasn't planning to." Pause. Then another message appeared, "But I think I should." Daniel's breath caught. She stepped forward. The room shifted. The cafe woman noticed. Nudged her friend, pointed. Daniel stayed where he was, watching. As Lena climbed the steps, Daniel realized something. This was not about him anymore. And whatever Lena was about to say was going to change how everyone saw her, because Lena had been silent long enough. And when she chose to be seen, the truth would hurt before it healed. Lena stood at the center of the stage. The lights were soft but bright enough to make faces blur into shapes. She took a breath, slow, grounding. The man with the microphone spoke again. "She'll be signing," he said. "Please watch." The room quieted. Lena lifted her hands. They moved with care, with control, not rushed, not apologetic. A woman beside the stage spoke aloud, translating. "When I was 12, the woman said, following Lena's movements, I lost my hearing after an illness." Lena's face stayed calm. Her hands continued. "I didn't lose sound all at once. It faded, slowly, like people leaving a room without saying goodbye." Daniel felt his throat tighten. Across the hall, the cafe woman stopped smiling. "I was still the same person," the voice continued. "But people treated me differently. Teachers spoke louder instead of clearer. Friends stopped inviting me." Lena's eyes flicked briefly to the crowd, then back to her hands. "They thought I was fragile or broken or a problem." A pause. "They stopped waiting for me." Daniel saw it then, the strength it took to stand there, to be seen. "I learned to read faces," the voice said. "Body language, silence, what people don't say." Daniel swallowed hard. "I learned that kindness is rarely loud, and cruelty often hides behind jokes." A ripple moved through the room. Daniel's gaze shifted. The cafe man looked away. Lena's hand slowed. "For a long time," the voice said gently, "I believed what they showed me, that I was less." Lena's shoulders rose slightly, then fell. "But one day," the voice continued, "someone waited." Daniel's breath stopped. He spoke slowly, looked at me when he talked, didn't rush to fill the silence. Lena's eyes searched the crowd. They found Daniel. He did not look away. "He didn't try to save me," the voice said. "He just stayed." The room was completely still now. "And that reminded me," the voice finished, "that dignity sounds different to everyone, but it looks the same." Lena lowered her hands. Applause came slowly. Then all at once, not loud, not wild, sincere. Lena stepped down from the stage. Her hands trembled slightly now, only now. Daniel met her halfway. "You were incredible," he said quietly. She shook her head gently, typed with unsteady fingers. "I was honest." Behind them, the cafe woman stared, her face pale, her mouth slightly open. The man beside her laughed once. "Nervous, wrong. Wait," the woman said suddenly, too loud. "That's the girl from the cafe." Heads turned. Daniel felt it, the shift. The woman stepped forward. "So what?" she said. "This whole thing was planned." Silence fell again, sharper this time. Lena looked at Daniel. He nodded once. She turned back to the crowd. Her hands rose again. The translator hesitated, then spoke. "No," the voice said. "This was not planned." Lena signed faster now, firmer. "But the mockery was real." Gasps. Daniel's chest burned. "And the man you laughed at," the voice continued, "is a single father who shows his daughter how to be human." The cafe woman's face flushed. Daniel stepped forward. He did not raise his voice. "I didn't come to teach anyone a lesson," he said. "I just came for coffee." Silence. Then someone clapped. One person, then another. The cafe woman stepped back. And for the first time she looked small. Because the truth was out now. And once truth enters a room, it never leaves quietly. The applause faded slowly. Not because people stopped caring, because they did not know what to do with what they had just heard. Lena stood still, her hands lowered now, her breathing shallow. Daniel moved closer, not in front of her, beside her. "Equal," the cafe woman cleared her throat. "This is ridiculous," she said. "We were just joking." No one laughed. She looked around, searching for support, finding none. The translator stayed quiet, watched Lena's face. Lena lifted her phone. She typed carefully, "Jokes don't leave scars." The translator read it aloud. The room shifted again. A man near the front spoke up. "My brother is deaf," he said. "That wasn't a joke." Another voice followed. "My daughter too." The cafe man tried to smile. It did not work. "Come on, people are too sensitive these days." Daniel spoke, calm, measured. "Sensitive people notice pain," he said. "That's all." The cafe woman's eyes flicked to Lena, then away. "I didn't know," she muttered. Lena watched her lips closely. She typed again. "You didn't want to know." Silence. The event organizer stepped forward. "Let's take a short break," he said gently. People began to move, slowly. Thoughtfully, some came up to Lena, signed what they could, smiled, touched her arm lightly. Others spoke to Daniel. "You're a good father," one woman said. Daniel shook his head. "I'm just trying." "That's enough," she replied. Across the room, the cafe woman stood alone now, her phone in her hand, her confidence gone. Daniel watched her for a moment, then he turned back to Lena. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, once. Then typed, "I am now." They stepped outside together. The night air was cool, quiet. Daniel leaned against the wall, closed his eyes for a second. "I didn't plan to say anything," he admitted. "But I'm glad you did." Lena typed, "I was scared." "You didn't look it," she smiled faintly. "That's practice." Daniel laughed softly. The sound surprised him. "I don't laugh much either," he said. She looked at him, curious. "You should. Emily needs that sound." He nodded. "She does." They stood there for a while. Inside, life went on. Conversations, understanding, healing in small pieces. Daniel realized something then. The humiliation from the cafe felt distant now. Smaller, not gone, but changed. Lena slipped her phone into her pocket. She signed slowly, deliberately. Daniel watched closely, remembered. "Thank you," he said, "for choosing to speak." She shook her head gently. "Thank you for staying." They did not know yet what tomorrow would bring. But tonight had already done something important. It had given them their names back. Because tomorrow, the story would reach someone unexpected. And that someone would force Daniel to face the last truth he was hiding. The call came the next morning. Daniel was packing Emily's lunch: apple slices, peanut butter sandwich, a small note with a smile drawn in blue ink. His phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number again. He stared at it for a moment, then answered. "Hello, Daniel," a woman's voice said, careful, controlled. "This is Sarah." The knife slipped slightly. He steadied it. "Yes," he said. I was at the event last night," she continued. "I didn't know it was you at first." Daniel closed the lunchbox slowly. "Okay." There was a pause, long enough to feel heavy. "I was Emily's teacher. 2 years ago." Daniel leaned against the counter. "I remember," he said quietly. Another pause. "I wanted to apologize," she said, "for assuming things, for how I spoke to you back then." Daniel closed his eyes. "You told me Emily was distracted," he said, "that she needed more structure at home." "Yes," Sarah replied, "and I was wrong." Daniel did not respond. "I didn't know you were working nights," she continued. "I didn't know her mother had just passed." The word hung there, passed. Daniel's hand tightened around the counter edge. "I should have asked," she said. "I should have listened." Emily walked into the kitchen. "Dad," Daniel turned, smiled. "Lunch is ready." She noticed his face. "Are you okay?" "Yes," he said. "Just a phone call." Sarah waited on the line. "I don't need anything," Daniel said finally. "I just needed you to hear her." "I do now," Sarah said. "Everyone does." Daniel ended the call gently. He walked Emily to school, held her hand a little longer than usual before letting go. That afternoon, he met Lena at the library. She sat at a desk near the window, sorting returned books. She looked up when she felt his presence. Daniel waited until she was done. "I got a call," he said. She typed, "Bad or good?" "Both," he said. She tilted her head, encouraging. "My wife," he said quietly. "She died 3 years ago." Lena's hand stilled. Daniel continued. "People think I'm quiet because I'm weak," he said. "But I'm quiet because everything loud reminds me of losing her." Lena stood, slowly. She did not touch him. She did not rush. She typed, "Thank you for trusting me." Daniel nodded. His eyes were wet now. "I didn't want to be seen," he said. "Not like that," she typed. Being seen doesn't erase her. That hit him hard. "She would have liked you," he said suddenly. Lena smiled softly. "I would have liked her too." They stood there between shelves, between stories. Outside, people passed, unaware. Inside, something settled. Daniel had finally said it out loud. And that made room for something new, because healing does not rush. And the next step would test whether the world truly learned anything at all. The article appeared 2 days later. Daniel didn't see it at first. Lena did. She sat at the library desk, her phone resting beside a stack of returned books. A coworker tapped her shoulder gently, pointed at the screen. Lena read slowly, carefully. "Local man and deaf advocate expose casual cruelty at community event." Her chest tightened. Daniel was picking Emily up when his phone started buzzing. Messages, one after another. He ignored them until Emily climbed into the car. "Dad," she said, buckling herself in. "Why are people staring at us?" He looked up. A woman nearby smiled too quickly. A man nodded like he knew him. Daniel forced a calm voice. "Sometimes people recognize you," he said. "From where?" Daniel paused. "From being human." At home, he finally opened the article. It talked about Lena, about awareness, about courage. Daniel was mentioned once. A single father who reminded the room what dignity looks like. That night, Daniel sat at the table long after Emily slept. He felt exposed. The phone buzzed again. A message from Lena. "I'm sorry. I didn't know they were writing about it." Daniel typed back, "You didn't do anything wrong." 3 dots appeared. "Are you okay?" Daniel stared at the question. He typed honestly, "I don't know yet." The next day, someone left a note on his car. "Thank you for your courage." Another day, someone muttered as he passed, "Attention seeker." The balance was uneven, always had been. Daniel met Lena at the park again. She noticed it immediately, the weight on him. She typed, "This is heavier than you expected." "Yes," he admitted. She looked down, then typed, "We can disappear again if you want." Daniel watched the river move slowly. "I've disappeared my whole life," he said. "It didn't protect me." Lena studied him. "What do you want Emily to remember?" He didn't answer right away. Then quietly that her father didn't run. Lena smiled, small, proud. They sat there until the sun dipped lower. A teenager passed by, looked at Lena, then at Daniel, whispered something cruel. Daniel tensed. Lena didn't. She signed slowly, deliberately. Some people shout because they're afraid of silence. Daniel exhaled. "You teach without trying," he said. She typed. "So do you." That night, Emily asked him something before bed. "Dad," she said, "are we brave?" Daniel brushed her hair back. "We're learning," he said. And learning, he realized, was louder than fear, because the loudest moment was still coming. And it would ask Daniel to choose silence or something more. The invitation arrived folded in half, plain envelope, no return address. Daniel found it tucked under his door when he came home from work. He stood there for a long moment before picking it up. Inside was a single card. "School assembly guest speakers requested Emily's school." His chest tightened. He sat at the kitchen table, the card resting between his hands. He did not open it again. Did not need to. Emily came in from the living room. "Dad, yes." "Why are you quiet like that?" Daniel looked at her, really looked. "I've been asked to talk at your school," he said. Her eyes widened. "Talk how?" "About kindness," he said. "And people." She thought about it, then nodded once. "Okay." "You're not scared," she shrugged. "They already whisper." That hurt more than anything else. That evening, Daniel met Lena at the library. She could tell something was different. He showed her the card. She read it, slowly. Her face tightened, just a little. She typed, "That's public, very public." "I know," he said. She studied him. "You don't have to say yes." Daniel nodded. "I know." Silence sat between them. Then Lena typed, "If you go, I'll go with you." Daniel looked at her. "You don't owe me that." She met his eyes. "I know." The assembly was scheduled for Friday. The gym smelled like polish and old wood. Folding chairs lined the floor. Children filled the space with restless movement. Teachers stood at the edges, watching. Daniel stood near the wall, Lena beside him. Calm, centered. Emily sat in the front row, feet swinging, searching for him. She saw him, smiled. That smile made the decision final. The principal stepped up to the microphone, cleared his throat. "Today," he said, "we're going to talk about how we treat people." Daniel felt his hands shake. Lena noticed. She touched his arm, light, steady. He walked to the microphone. The gym quieted. He looked out at the faces. Young, curious, unafraid. "I'm not a speaker," he said. "I'm just a dad." A few kids smiled. "My daughter is here," he continued. "She watches how I live more than she listens to what I say." Emily sat taller. "I want her to grow up in a world where waiting is normal," he said, "where listening is an act of respect." He paused, then stepped aside. Lena moved forward. She did not speak. She signed. A teacher translated. She says, "Kindness is not loud, it is patient." The gym was silent, not one whisper, and Daniel knew then. This was the moment that would stay with Emily forever. because the children were listening now, and the truth they would carry next would ripple far beyond that room. The silence in the gym did not break, it settled. Children leaned forward without realizing it. Teachers lowered their arms. Even the floor seemed to listen. Lena's hands moved slowly, clearly, every motion intentional. The teacher's voice followed. She says, when people don't wait, they decide who you are for you. A few students frowned, thinking. She says, when people laugh, they teach others how to laugh too. Daniel felt his throat tighten. Lena's hands paused, then continued. She says, when one person waits, it gives others permission to wait as well. A boy in the second row raised his hand. The principal nodded. Is it hard, the boy asked, to not hear? The room held its breath. The teacher hesitated, looked to Lena. Lena smiled gently, signed. The teacher spoke. She says it's not hard to not hear. What's hard is being ignored. That landed. A girl near Emily wiped her eyes quickly, tried to hide it. Another hand went up. Why were people mean? A child asked. Did you do something? Daniel felt it in his chest. The old instinct to step in, to explain, to protect. Lena answered first. She says people are often afraid of what they don't understand. Pause. She says fear makes people smaller, not you. The room shifted. A teacher near the back nodded slowly, like she was realizing something late. The principal stepped forward gently. Thank you, he said. Both of you. Applause came again. This time it was different. Children clapped without irony, without judgment, just sound and motion and effort. Daniel looked at Emily. She was standing, clapping harder than anyone. After the assembly, students crowded near Lena. Some waved awkwardly, some tried to sign, some just smiled. One boy tapped Daniel's arm. My mom works 2 jobs, he said. You look tired like her. Daniel knelt. She must be strong. The boy nodded. She is. A teacher approached Lena. Her eyes were wet. I didn't know, she said softly, about waiting. Lena read her lips, smiled. She signed. The teacher laughed quietly. I'll try. Outside, the air felt lighter. Emily ran up to them. Did you see? She asked Daniel. They listened. Yes, Daniel said. They really did. She turned to Lena, hugged her without asking. Tight, honest. Lena froze for half a second, then hugged back. Daniel watched. His chest ached in a good way. As they walked away, Daniel noticed someone standing near the gate, the cafe woman. She did not smile this time. She did not laugh. She looked unsure. Their eyes met. For a moment no one moved. Then the woman looked down. Daniel did not feel victorious. He felt finished, like something heavy had finally been put down. That night Emily drew a picture, stick figures, a school. 3 people holding hands. She wrote underneath slowly, waiting is kind. Daniel taped it to the fridge. He stood back, looked at it. And for the first time in a long while he did not feel misunderstood. Because not everyone learns at the same time. And one last moment would decide what this story truly became. Daniel thought the story was over, that once the assembly ended, life would quietly return to its shape. He was wrong. The message came late that night, from an unfamiliar name. No picture. Can we talk? Daniel stared at the screen for a long time. He showed it to Lena the next morning as they walked slowly through the park. Leaves moved under their feet. Autumn settling in, she read the message. Her expression didn't change, but her shoulders did, slightly. She typed, "You don't owe anyone closure." "I know," Daniel said, "but I think I owe myself honesty." They agreed to meet in the same cafe. The same table, different air. The cafe woman arrived first this time. No perfect hair, no friends beside her. Just a coat pulled tight and hands wrapped around a cup she wasn't drinking. Daniel and Lena walked in together. People noticed. Some smiled, some looked away. They sat. The woman swallowed. "I didn't sleep," she said. Daniel nodded. "I believe you." She looked at Lena, struggled to hold eye contact. "I didn't understand," she said. "I thought I don't know what I thought." Lena watched her lips carefully. The woman's voice shook. "I've been replaying that day, the laughing, the messages. I can't undo it." Lena took out her phone. She typed slowly. "Undoing isn't the same as changing." The woman's eyes filled. "I don't expect forgiveness." Daniel spoke gently. "Then don't ask for it." The woman nodded. relief mixed with shame. "I just needed you to know," she said, "that you didn't deserve that." Lena studied her. Long, quiet, she typed one last message. "Learn from it, that's enough." The woman nodded again, stood, left money on the table, more than enough. She left without another word. Daniel sat back, exhaled. "That felt final," he said. Lena smiled faintly. "Some endings are quiet." Outside they walked side by side. Daniel stopped near the door. "There's something I need to ask you," he said. Lena waited. "I don't know where this goes," he said, "and I'm still learning how to let people in." She met his eyes. He continued. "But I know this. I don't want to stop waiting." "Not with you." Lena's smile was slow, certain. She typed. "Then don't rush. I won't." They stood there for a moment. The cafe door opened behind them, closed again. Life moved on, but something stayed. Because the loudest stories don't end with applause. They end with what happens after everyone goes home. Months passed, not in big changes, in small ones. Morning routines stayed the same. Lunches packed, shoes by the door. Emily still forgot her jacket, but something inside Daniel moved differently now. He waited without fear. At the park, people still looked sometimes. He noticed, then let it go. Lena sat beside him, reading lips from a distance, smiling at things he missed. They learned each other's rhythms. When Daniel spoke too fast, Lena touched his wrist. When Lena withdrew into quiet, Daniel stayed close without questions. Emily loved her, not loudly, naturally. One evening, Emily sat between them on the couch, drawing. She looked up suddenly. "Lena," she said carefully, "do you hear me here?" She pointed to her heart. Lena smiled, tapped the same place. Emily nodded, satisfied. That night Daniel stood at the sink washing dishes. Lena dried, a quiet teamwork. He spoke without turning. "I used to think strength was surviving alone." Lena paused, watched his reflection. He continued. "Now I think it's letting someone see you survive." She typed. "Strength is staying soft in a hard world." Daniel nodded. The next morning a letter arrived from the Deaf Center. They wanted Lena to lead a small program. Outreach. Education, quiet advocacy. She read it slowly, carefully, then showed Daniel. He smiled. "You'll be amazing," she typed. "We will." On the day of the first session, Daniel sat in the back, Emily beside him. Lena stood at the front, calm, grounded. She signed to a small room. Parents, children, teachers. Daniel watched faces change, understanding grow, shoulders relax. Emily leaned over. "Dad, yes." "I think people wait now," she whispered. Daniel swallowed. "I think so too." Afterward, a man approached Daniel, hesitant. "My brother is deaf," he said. "I never knew how to talk to him." Daniel nodded. "Start by waiting." The man nodded back, grateful. That evening they walked home together. The sky soft with dusk. Lena stopped, looked at Daniel. She typed, "Thank you for staying, even when it was hard." Daniel took a breath. "Thank you," he said, "for seeing me before I believed I was worth seeing." They stood there, no rush. Just presence. Later, Daniel tucked Emily into bed. "Dad," she said sleepily, "will people always be kind now?" Daniel smiled sadly. "No," she frowned. "Then why does it feel better?" He brushed her hair back. "Because when they're not," he said, "we know how to be." She smiled, closed her eyes. Daniel turned off the light. In the quiet hallway he paused. He realized something then. The cafe laughter had not defined him. The whispers had not named him. Waiting had. And in that waiting a family had formed, not perfect, not loud, but real. Soft light filled the living room. Lena looked up from the couch, smiled. Daniel sat beside her. Outside the world kept moving. Inside something steady held. The first snow came quietly. Daniel noticed it through the kitchen window while the kettle warmed. Small flakes, careful ones, like they were asking permission before landing. Lena stood beside him, scarf around her neck, watching the same scene. Emily pressed her hands to the glass. "It's here," she whispered. Daniel smiled. "Yes, it is." They walked outside together later that evening. The street was calm. Footsteps muted, breath visible. A neighbor waved, not out of curiosity, out of recognition. Daniel waved back. He noticed how that no longer surprised him. At the small playground down the block, a little boy struggled to zip his jacket. His mother tried to help while holding groceries. Daniel stepped forward without thinking, knelt, zipped the jacket, smiled at the boy. The mother mouthed thank you. Lena watched, her eyes soft. Emily took Lena's hand, swung it gently as they walked. "Lena," she said, "do you think people change?" Lena knelt to her level, looked at her carefully. She signed slowly so Emily could follow. Daniel translated softly. "She says people don't change all at once." Emily waited. "She says they change when someone waits long enough for them to catch up." Emily nodded, like that made perfect sense. Later that night, Daniel sat alone at the table. Lena and Emily asleep down the hall. He picked up his phone, scrolled past old messages. Old pain. Stopped. He opened the first message Lena had ever sent him. "You looked like you needed someone to see you." Daniel leaned back, closed his eyes. He thought of the cafe, the laughter, the way his hands had shaken. He thought of the stage, the silence, the moment everything turned. But most of all, he thought of the ordinary days in between, the waiting, the staying, the choosing not to disappear. In the morning, Daniel walked Emily to school, snow crunching under their feet. At the gate, a new student stood alone, head down, backpack too big. Emily stopped. She looked back at Daniel. He nodded. She walked over, stood beside the child. Said nothing at first, just stayed. Daniel watched from a distance. Lena stood next to him. She typed on her phone and showed him the screen. "This is how it spreads." Daniel smiled, not wide, not loud, true. The bell rang. Children rushed inside. Emily turned once more, waved. Daniel waved back. As he walked home with Lena, the world felt the same, and completely different because cruelty still existed, judgment still whispered. But now Daniel knew something deeper, that dignity does not announce itself. Kindness does not demand applause, and waiting can change a life. Sometimes quietly, sometimes forever. If this story stayed with you, if it reminded you to wait, to see, to stay, subscribe to this channel. More human stories are coming, and you're always welcome here.